Right then folks, we're at the beautiful Woodlands View Fishery having one hell of a session today. It's just been amazing. Caught loads on micros and expanders, and now we're changing to our pellet. So mixing it up a little bit. We're using a little pot to tap a few pellets in, but also we're loose feeding. Most of the fish are coming sort of as you're holding that rig, nice and tight line. They're coming on the drop through the water. Probably end up catching shallow later on. It's just ridiculous. Rigs wise, so we changed rigs a little bit. Rather than a 414, we've gone large, we've gone to a 412. So exactly the same everything else, same elastic, 9's Jura, exactly the same line, 0.16 Andy Power, 2 number 8s back shots again, but 412s rather than a 414, simply because we can get that lovely nice slow fall through the water. Shotted it exactly the same, ba-dang. Oh, in fact, actually, I didn't show you where I plumbed up to last time. So macros and expanders, I was sort of plumbing up to round here, sort of like just past the middle of the body. With this, a hard pellet on, I'm sort of like onto the shoulder of the float, if you like. You know, we've got it set to there, the float, but we're plumbed up to about there. Just because we're not really waiting for the bites on this as such. We're either lifting and dropping the rig, or completely lifting the rig out and holding a tight line to it so it's falling on that nice arc through the water. Shotting wise is exactly the same. Tapered again, so we've got number 9s, and then the last 3 shots are number 10s. So these 3 here, number 10s, and then 4 above are number 9s. Hook length's a little bit different. Rather than going on the hook length this time, I've got a we've got 0.12 Andy Power, and we've got an 18s KKM on there with a little baby band on, which you're just going to put either a 4 or sometimes a 6mm if you want to be a little bit more selective. But to be fair, folks, 4mm at this time of year catches everything swimming. Dead simple. And the only other difference is we've just got a bit of a bigger pot on with a lid, so I can tap a few pellets in. Not putting loads in, because as I say, I mean, obviously if you do have the option of like bringing them shallow, then you're going to catch much quicker. But the trouble you'll have is potentially sort of too many fish in your peg, liners, far lookers, things like that. But at the moment, things are going right nice. So let's get straight on with it. First things first. Hooking the pellet, so obviously it's fishery on pellet here. I don't like to, in fact, let me get a few on here. Let me get a few on my hand. I won't go for like these little babby ones here. I'll go for one that's a little bit bigger. Something like one of these two here. So I'm going to go for that one there. Now, obviously you can use, your baiting device if you like, but the easiest way I've found is if you hold your pellet in your middle finger and your thumb, present the band round to the side, then with your index fingernail, put it right through the band and just loop it over like that. But you've got to make sure, see how that band's twisted, you've got to make sure it's smooth. So I'm just going to smooth that out around the pellet. And went to blooming coal, there we go. So it's nice and smooth around the pellet, and look how that's presented there. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, be well happy with that. So that's that on. And then the next thing we're going to do is just get a few, not loads, literally what's there, 10 to a dozen pellets or something, and just put them in this tippy tappy sprinkle pot. Done, dusted. So pull that elastic back. Just before we go out, I've got to prime the magpie swim, haven't we? So I'll double feed that, and then we'll ship out. So as I say, we're doing a combination of, obviously we're tapping the bait in first, but I'm still catapulting as well. The beauty you've got, folks, is that catapulting. So I'm laying that rig out to the left, come into position, twist that pot over, tap them pellets in, and twist the pot back round. Now the beauty of obviously them pellets, the hard pellets, is the noise. The noise is a massive factor in this, in that the fish will come to it. Obviously if you're making more noise, that's where the loose feed comes in. So what I'm going to be doing on this is leaving it sort of, once it's settled, like it's settled now, 15 seconds, and I'm going to start lifting and dropping. If that doesn't work, then what I'll do, I'll lift the whole rig out, lay it in again, and experiment, lay it with the wind, and lay it against the wind. Because obviously like the expanders, I was leaving it more on the bottom. With this, it's more sort of like a visual thing, as obviously the bait falling through the water. So more lifting and dropping, but then if anything, like I'll show you this time, I've got any pellets left in there, and a couple, I'm going to completely lift that rig out and lay it out the other way, but so I can hold a tight line to that float. And most of the fish have been coming as it's just about getting to the bottom. I'm just trying to keep a tight line to that float as possible. There we go. And what I'm going to do now is just start pinging a few out. Obviously if you're waiting for bites, you won't be catapulting. Only to like maybe, well, pinging in 3 or 4 just to try and jaw fishing. But with the fish sort of like still being a little bit active. That's why I'm catapulting a few pellets out, just making that noise. But the beauty of having that pot on is that, you know, you're fishing right where your bait is, obviously through the pot. Whereas the loose feed will just draw the fish in. Such an active, oh, there we go, so it was a little bite then. Right, so leave that in again that way, hold a tight line to it, so we just ping them pellets in. Obviously the thing to experiment with is, obviously if you had a shallow rig done up, is when you start missing a few bites, far looking, and that just tells you that it comes shallow. So you saw that, that's the reason why you'd hold a tight line to it, you know, because that fish took it, I'm going to say like 18 inches off the bottom. Just before I come back, I'm just going to ping a few more pellets out. But that's the beauty of it, folks, you know, tapping the pellets in so you're fishing exactly where your bait is, but also that loose feed instantly draws them fish in. Let's get some more magpies in. Away the magpies! It's another little stocky F1 this. Always the first two at these little stocky F1s. And then the bigger carps will rock up. Just brilliant, folks. And it's just can't beat it. Love fishing, me. Absolutely adore it, especially on here as well. It's a ghosty one, so it goes with the lake. Ghost lake and a ghosty one. So, where's he hooked? This should be in like the toppest lip. So Jay's going to give me what, 7 out of 10 for that. But it's top lip, isn't it? Look at that, beautiful. Beautiful pound F1. So there you have it. So I'm going to catch me loads more of them, folks. But it's just, again, nothing complicated what we're doing. Just make sure you change the size of your float. It doesn't matter if it was like blowing 10 times harder than this, the wind. The thing you've got to consider is obviously the fish. When you're loose feeding, any elements of loose feed in the bait, you want to be catching them sort of like towards the bottom, obviously the bottom of the lake bed. So just make sure your shots are a little bit lighter there so they can see your bait falling through. So all that time holding a tight line to it, my float was on sort of like that angle when we had the bite and ease on. Steady amounts of loose feed, you know, but tap the pellets in to like make sure you're fishing exactly where your hook bait is, and you'll not go far wrong, folks. Give it a go!